touchdown passes last year. This one's knocked up. Bowers tips it to himself, and he'll score.
Snaps it anyway. Greer lobs it in the air. Whoa, he has trouble with the snap, and the ball is free. It's picked up by Michigan State's Jalen Watts-Jackson, and he scores on the left. This year. Here's a blitz, and Klubnik didn't see it coming. He got blasted by Kalen DeLoach, who has the ball and is heading toward the end zone.
What is going on, everybody? It is episode 60 of College Football Talk. We have made it 60 episodes in, making our ascent to 100 episodes. But what seemed like just a regular pod tonight has become an absolute bombshell. That what a great night to choose, because we have, college football playoff national title to talk about. Yeah. What happened there? Michigan won, obviously, as you saw. We have big time news out of the transfer portal. Winners and losers of the week. We got a bunch of hot questions, but the biggest thing tonight, we will get right into it here in a second. Alabama head coach Nick Saban has retired. He has hanging up whatever cleats or shoes he has. And him and Miss Terry are getting that police escort out of Tuscaloosa and heading to wherever they want to go. Probably to the lake house. He loves his lake house. So
I think he probably ends up at ESPN as a.
He'll just be on McAfee's show, and
probably McAfee's show and then game day. But this is probably the biggest news to come out of the sport
in a long time, as far as from like a coaching aspect.
This is the biggest retirement since what?
Probably, which is crazy.
Probably what, Bowden?
Maybe
in 2010 or
somewhere around. There's been some big time coaching news. You have
on the standard of Nick Saban. To be fair, there's nobody at Nick Saban.
No,
you know what I mean.
And you look at the professional level today. Pete Carroll, Seahawks head coach, stepping down after 14 seasons. Similar age in that 70 range. So crazy that Bill Belichick not going to be around much longer in New England. Nonetheless, though, we'll get that shortly. Make sure you guys are subscribing. We are trying to ascend, guys. So if you're watching and you're not subscribed, just hit that big red button. Subscribe. Helps us out. Helps you out because you get to watch and listen. And make sure you guys are liking the videos on YouTube, following along on Spotify if you are a audio type person.
Yeah.
So we will get right into it now. So Nick Saban's retiring. And it's an absolute bombshell. It got dropped probably around,
I think it's like
5:30-ish today.
Yeah.
I want to say.
It was like 5:30.
It's being recorded this is Wednesday, January 10th. This is happening. We're recording. So just a couple hours ago.
Yeah.
Just accolades. Nick Saban, 7 national titles, 6 at Bama, 1 at LSU, 12 conference titles, 11 SEC championships.
Yeah.
Spent 109 weeks as number 1 in the country, more than any other program in the history of college football. Never had a losing season. Yep. He went 199-16, if that is correct. In total as a head coach. He is the only head coach to win a title in 3 different decades. Crazy. Spent time LSU, spent time in the pros as an assistant with the Browns. As head coach with the Dolphins, he was at Michigan State and obviously at Bama from 07 or 08.
And never forget Toledo.
You got to have your.
Yeah, that one MAC. I saw somebody post his accolades and under like the SEC championships, it said 1 MAC championship, and I was
there it is.
Such a funny thing
that's that one title right there. There it is.
We'll be talking about the legacy of Nick Saban for the next, just like people still talk about Bear Bryant today. Right?
Yeah.
We'll be talking about his legacy probably until college football isn't a sport anymore.
Nick Saban, arguably the greatest coach of all time, is he already had a statue built of him outside the football stadium. He was still coaching. So, that just shows you how well and respected and how good of a coach he was, what he did. as just a pure dominant standpoint.
Yeah.
As far as the head coach is just can't be.
I don't know if it will ever be matched.
No, it won't
I mean,
ever be matched. The coaching tree is certainly one that is as impressive. I mean, names like I saw a list tonight. It was guys like Kirby Smart, Steve Sarkisian, Lane Kiffin, Billy Napier, Jimbo Fisher, Brian Daboll, Jason Garrett, Mario Cristobal, Dan Lanning, Adam Gase, Bill O'Brien, freaking what's his name? We were just talking about him. Oh, I mean, there's Mike Loxley.
Yeah.
Mel Tucker. Little asterisk next to him.
The list doesn't seem to end when it comes to
and then there's the assistants like Will Muschamp, Glenn Schumann. I mean, the list goes on. Lane Kiffin, I don't know if I said him or not, but the list is massive. I mean, the trees, it's a giant tree, the branches sprouted out with just all types of coaches from head coach down to the analyst level that are all throughout. So, I mean, there's just numerous coaches, what he's done for the sport. It's crazy. But, is with him gone, before we get into like who we think's going to be in who's filling in the next spot, who would you say is who is right now the top, we'll say top 3 coaches in America with him out of there in order? Top 5 would go top 5, I guess.
Top 5 in order. That's tough. I would go number 1 without a doubt. Clear number 1 is Kirby Smart.
For sure.
It's almost like if we did it in a tier list, right? There's top of it is Kirby Smart. Everybody else is below that. You know what I mean? They're a tier below. I would go, my number 2 would probably be Harbaugh right now. I don't know how long he'll be at number 2, but
Yes, well, that's just going to be determined if he wants to leave.
Exactly. And I think after that, it's kind of just like, it's really hard. Everybody kind of just, nobody really sticks out as much, right?
I would look at Kirby Smart. I mean, what he's done, he's ridiculous. He might be on pace if they wouldn't have blundered. And now a lot of people are saying that, what if he threw the game this year? Knowing it was his boss, his colleagues, one of his best friends, final time,
I was that's another conspiracy theory I was looking at.
Not the best conspiracy theory for a lot of Georgia fans out there, but cost them a national title. They think, in their opinion, based off what I watched on Monday night. Anyway, that's not the point. The point is that Kirby Smart was right there. He's going to be the clear guy going forward with the classes he's bringing in and the dominance. He'll be good.
We'll see how much the Atlanta Falcons offer him.
Arthur Blank will go after
$40 million a year.
He just signed an extension last year for
$40 million.
$112.5 million. That's
besides.
I would say after Smart, it would be Harbaugh if we're going right now at 2. 3, I look at right now, probably Kalen DeBoer, just from what he's done.
Yeah.
From his
25 and 3.
Yeah. I mean, they just had a 20-plus game winning streak snapped. I saw a fact the other day, right before the national title. It was like 3. Washington was the third team in college football history to go into the title with a 20-plus game winning streak. Previous 2 teams both lost, and obviously they lost. So, but I go DeBoer. Right after that, 3 or 4 would be probably Steve Sarkisian.
Yeah.
And then I'd say Dan Lanning after that 5. Outside of that, honorable mention, probably Ryan Day, but just from what, he just hasn't been able to get over the hump yet.
Yeah. I think after that, there's a lot of guys who are kind of all in that mix of they have the potential to reach the top, but they're not there yet,
Yeah. Your Lincoln Riley's, your
Lincoln
Brian
Riley,
Kelly's,
Mike Norvell, Brian Kelly, you got a lot of guys who have shown flash.
Dabo Sweeney.
Dabo's.
I will give Dabo my props for as kooky and funny as he is, and his denial. From where they started this year, just a dreadful, awful start. And there was felt like a lot of turmoil going on. Yeah. I mean, they finished with 9 wins this year. I mean, I will give credit where credit's due for the Clemson Tigers. They really they seemed to find something with Klubnik and some sort of play calling, like with the OC, I forget his name. The guy,
the TCU
Riley.
guy.
But they got Riley, the OC, and with Dabo, I think they finally figured out something that got their offense in rhythm, and they finished out the year really strong with a nice bowl game win. But so Sweeney's right there, but that's my 5. It's really interesting now if we're looking post, now the coaches who's in the league now.
Yeah.
From an Alabama perspective, obviously you have a DC opening, you have a head coaching spot, and you have Tommy Rees who's now there, who's still the OC, but will he still be there? That's going to be determined. So with the transfer portal ending, I don't know if you realize this. I think we might have mentioned this here, but the transfer portal coming up to a close. I don't know the exact date for this cycle, but with the coaching change, the NCAA rule and the SEC rule is now the conference will open a 30-day window for all players that want to leave, enter the portal. They get now an additional 30-day window with Saban gone, which means now you're going to get guys like Georgia and other teams, big time programs, going to go swoop in.
Yeah.
And, now you have this cycle, the 30-day window plus spring cycle to do. It's going to be, I would not be surprised if you see a couple guys that are well-known names probably abandon ship or jump ship. I mean, they lost a commit tonight.
Yeah.
They lost they've already lost a couple guys to the draft, to the portal, like Earl Little and Malik Benson, and they lost Eli Holstein to Pitt, who was supposed to be one of the next up-and-coming quarterbacks in that group. So we'll see what happens next. I don't know. How do you feel about that? I know I was told, or I wasn't told anything, but I saw that I guess the staff administration told the players that, hey, why don't just give us the time, 72 hours, wait for the coaching change before you start making any moves. Don't just jump right now, even though they have every right to. So it'll be interesting to see that from that perspective.
I think we'll see a mix of both. I think tomorrow we're going to get a couple guys. You're going to hear a couple names that, wow, that guy's entering the portal, or that guy's declaring for the draft a little bit early. You're going to see that tomorrow. And then I think everything depends on Friday and Saturday, because I think Friday or Saturday they're going to announce the guy.
Yes,
at least their goal is to have it by then. If they
next 72 hours was what the report is.
I'm telling you, if they don't have a guy by Saturday night, then there's a problem.
I've seen reports that they will have an announcement by either tomorrow, as early as tomorrow.
Yeah. No, that's what I'm saying, though. If there isn't a guy at the end of Saturday, I would imagine they had people say no.
Yeah.
Like a sizable amount of guys.
And, you look at big-time guys that are there right now, but are younger guys, so they have years of eligibility, like Caleb Downs, first pick.
Yeah.
Heavily recruited by Georgia. And if we know anything about Kirby Smart in that group, they will not quit. Ask KJ Bolden. Ask Florida State fans how. KJ Bolden was committed since August, I think, all the way. But you just keep on going after these guys, even though they're committed. And then you look at that, he flips at the end. Look at guys. Caleb. Even I think Smart told KJ Bolden, like, I'm not going to let another guy out of the state of Georgia leave. And that's what happened to Caleb Downs. He, got away from Smart. So you look guys like that. There's other guys out there, who are big time guys. Will they also teams go get them? Like, I know, there's talks like Florida people see if they can maybe go out and try to get Isaiah Bond, who was in the same recruiting class with Evan Stewart. They both had the same visit at the same time. When they were on their recruiting stuff. So there's a lot of guys out there that, and with the NIL, the poaching game is at its finest with some of these bigger schools. Georgia's, the Florida States, the LSU's, the Ohio States, the Michigan, not really, but some of these big A&Ms, they'll go get them. If they want them. They got the pocket check. checkbooks out. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
All right. So before we move on, we'll go into the coaches list because obviously the header says who will be the next head coach for Alabama. Dylan, who are we looking at? I mean, I know we've seen guys like
it's Alabama. So really, when you look at a list of names, it's more or less they name every coach who's in the top 10 coaches, right? Outside of the three guys that are considered untouchables right now, for a variety of reasons. But the only guys you're not hearing in conversation are Smart, Harbaugh, and Day. Those are the only three guys you're not hearing anything about. But every other coach who's considered a quality coach is pretty much being discussed as available.
Yes.
Now you're hearing Norvell, Sarkisian, Lane, Lanning, DeBoer. You're hearing every name. I think, though, just to give you some, just play with me here. I think there's a clear-cut guy. I think there's a guy who they've had a clear idea for years ahead of time. And I think there's a guy who, if offered, would say yes tomorrow. Or like yesterday, he would have said it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think that guy's Dabo Swinney.
Fans don't like him. They were cheering. They said no Dabo.
They say no to Dabo.
They said anyone but Dabo. I mean, I don't know how much of a say they have, but
zero. But we're talking about a fan base that, no offense, but there were guys who were rooting to fire Nick Saban after they lost to Texas. Like, you know what I mean? You don't listen to the fans. But the thing is with Dabo Swinney, you got a guy who's born in Alabama, raised an Alabama fan, went to Alabama, played at Alabama, coached at Alabama for 8 years, won a national title as a player. And I mean, pretty much if there's a guy
that says Alabama,
it's Dabo Swinney.
You know, he has been having that little bit of up and down at Clemson. There's talks that, him and the administrations isn't on the best terms right now. So
yeah,
it will be very interesting. God, I wish my camera would
fade out like that. To me, I think that's the guy. His buyout's not crazy. $7.5 million. He, he's going through his thing at Clemson right now, but like, no offense, but he could walk into Alabama tomorrow, and he's the kind of guy who could build them back into a national title contender. But there's any coach who could do it. I mean, there's why couldn't Dabo? He did it at Clemson, which to me is harder to do than Alabama. For sure. In a time also when the transfer portal wasn't really a thing. Yeah, and I think obviously he was anti-portal, but I would imagine going into Alabama, it's way easier to recruit. I mean, anything. Obviously, the betting favorite, Dan Lanning. Yeah. I just don't see Lanning comes from that tree. Yeah. My only thing is with him, and I know money screams, money talks. I know the buyout is $20 million. Yeah. Again, like we were saying, Bama is, money's not an issue. It's it's not an issue. My only thing is with Lanning, he's said multiple times. I mean, he just took the job last year. Just finished his second full year. Yeah, he finished his second season, yeah. And, they're doing really well in the rankings. They're currently they're 5th overall. They're 6th in recruiting ranking in the high school recruiting, 25th in the transfer. So he's getting guys. And I don't know, he said he doesn't want to leave. He has no interest. He wants to stay in or build Oregon up to, that national, title team. Mm-hmm. I look at guys Sweeney's obviously a really good one, I think. Yeah. My only thing with him is that he just doesn't want to use the portal. And if he's not going to use the portal, what's the, what are we doing? I look at my two guys that I would scream if Lanning ends up turning it down would be DeBoer. You've seen what he's done with everywhere he's gone. Mm-hmm. Washington did extremely well. He was at a lower end school before that. Yeah. It's done. He wins everywhere he goes. So you look at him, losing a lot of guys Washington is, and, why not just go where Bama's at, reload with all what they have, and just keep going right there. Or, we look at Mike Norvell. Mm-hmm.
just only because the buyout's low.
Yeah.
He does an extremely good job at turning teams around,
Mm-hmm.
keeping the ship upright. I mean, what he took over at Florida State was a mess. What
Yeah.
Willie Taggart did to just Jimbo Fisher started it. Willie Taggart just completely dug it deeper. So what he's done to resurrect that program has been nothing short of great.
Mm-hmm.
You've seen what they're losing a crap ton of guys. I know they're bringing in some guys out of the portal, some good names, but I mean nobody wants to turn down that Bama job. I look at that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Lane Kiffin's going to be anything.
Yeah.
Glenn Schumann's someone to keep an eye on. DC, Georgia. He's out of that. He's out of that Bama tree or that Saban tree, so maybe that. But I just look at DeBoer. If Lanning's the clear guy,
what do you think of NFL guys?
The only names I've really seen would be Dan Quinn, Mike Vrabel, possibly. D'Amico Ryans is another guy.
If there's a guy who
I just don't know if D'Amico Ryans, like some of these guys, like that are really good names, like they're just starting out realistically.
That's why I would imagine there's a chance with him, because you got a guy who is an Alabama alum who's doing a really good job, and
he's doing a great job. I mean, he turned a Texas team around.
You can snag him for nothing.
I just think like what he's got that entire franchise turned around in just one season. Not even one season yet, because they're still playing. I mean, the playoff. They play Sunday, I believe. Could be wrong,
but to me, if there's a guy who, I think there's two types of candidates we're looking at, right? We're looking at smart guys. Let me get in the camera focus. There's guys who the university will go, that's a good football coach. He meets all the criteria, and then there's one that fans will love, right? And I think it depends on which one they're going for. Because if you're wanting to go for the fans, I think Ryans is without a doubt the top guy they could grab. There's no guy who fan base would be more in love with.
I mean, his defensive paralysis. Mm-hmm. I mean, what he did with San Francisco, what he's done with the Texans, is really well done. I just think that he doesn't want to.
All-Pro, All-American.
I think the Texans would match whatever they're going to give him. Plus, what he's got. I mean, he's got C.J. Stroud. He's got a good young defense, and he's got some good veterans on that front too. Yeah. I mean, the Texans are probably another receiver away, a receiver and a couple defenders, just because that can get reps behind these veterans, being legit for years to come. So I don't think he wants to leave that. I think Lanning's the clear choice, like I've been keep saying. But if we're looking for backups, say he's like, the money's awesome, but I like what I'm building here. I'm going to continue it out.
Yeah,
I think DeBoer. It comes down to DeBoer, Sweeney, and Norvell for me. Those are my three guys.
I get it. I think Sweeney's the clear-cut guy for me, because I think he's just the guy who he matches the profile the most. He is on the list. He's the only guy I think we can both agree, clear-cut, no doubt, would say yes.
Yeah.
There was no chance where they go, I have unfinished business at my prior school, or
like he's done that already.
He's done it. And not only that, but Alabama's his home. That's his first love. And
sweet.
I mean, it's hard to say, but like they've been talking about it since the day he showed up and won 10 games. His worst season at Clemson is a 9-win season.
As bad as they will start,
yeah,
they finishes really well. So,
and to me, if there's a guy who I think number one just like follows in the path of how not just Alabama fans, but the school, like the president, the boosters, how everybody likes how Nick Saban runs it, then I think the guy they would want is Dabo Sweeney, because he's a guy who comes in with a proven track record. Like his record's 170-43 at Clemson. I mean, there's not like, there's not a lot of guys
either though. If he's maybe the next domino to fall, as far as like maybe just doesn't want to do this anymore. He's come out before and said he expresses he doesn't like where the state of college football is going. He doesn't like the transfer portal and how it is.
I would agree with you if he wasn't still kind of young.
True, but to be fair, like he's made his money, he's won his titles. I mean, what else do you want to do? Move back to Sweet Home Alabama and just
take home his first love.
I would just say though, for the Sweeney thing, and I think Sweeney's a great option.
Yeah.
Bama is about up here.
Mm-hmm.
Clemson's like right there.
Yeah.
I mean, there's tiers to this. You know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
he's gonna have to again use the portal because at Bama you use the portal. You're gonna have to recruit now against LSU, the Texases of the world, Texas A&Ms of the world.
I mean, they're South Carolina, or they were already recruiting against those guys,
and he was losing. He hasn't been getting the recruit now as he used to.
But I think that would be the biggest reason I could see the jump is him going. I think the brand is tainted at Clemson. Going to Alabama is almost like a restart.
Maybe
with his, you know what I mean. I think to me it makes
could be.
sense.
We'll see.
I bet Clemson fans probably hate me now.
Well,
actually, though, every single time you talk to Clemson fans, they're like, "Dude, the day Nick Saban retires is the scariest day of their lives."
Yeah,
because Dabo will say yes.
That's how Ole Miss fans are feeling, probably too. I just don't think Kiffin's going to be going anywhere.
I don't think Kiffin does it. I also don't think Alabama. I know they keep saying it. I don't think Alabama wants Kiffin because, like, that dude has a ceiling to me.
Maybe.
And his ceiling is not a national champion.
We'll see how he does this year. You know, they should be competing, but we'll see how they do with all these portal people coming in.
Yeah.
So, you know, like the news has been saying, if you've been following along on social media and stuff, you know, they should be expecting somebody within the next day or two. So we'll see. We'll keep up there. But we will move on to a national championship game that was played. Among all of this other stuff that's been happening, like there was a game played on Monday night. Wasn't probably the most best played game in the world. But we had a game nonetheless, and it was Michigan dominating Washington. 34-13 was the final. You know, Michigan from the jump. It was my biggest concern coming into this game, where I felt like, you know, the line of scrimmage was going to be the de facto biggest reason for either team to have success. You have a Washington team that comes in, the Joe Morrow winning O-line. I didn't agree with that decision. I think they're undersized at the O-line outside of like one guy. And if they could somehow do what they did against Texas and just keep Michael Penix upright, they'd be fine. You know, don't limit the pressures. Let him have time in the pocket and let him do what he does. And or there was going to be the other side where Michigan was just going to terrorize and blitz and dominate. And honestly, they didn't blitz that much. They rushed 4, and they did that. They got home to Michael Penix. They honestly didn't even really get sacks. I think Penix only got sacked once.
Yeah, the
problem was here, if I can find it, he got pressured. Let's see, where is that? Here we go. Sacks. 1 sack. I can't find it where it says pressures, but he got pressured probably 10 plus times. More than that. I mean, Michael Penix couldn't even stand by the end of the game. The amount of just hit shots he was taking after each play was over was just crazy to me.
No, I absolutely agree with you. The biggest thing that shocked me, though, was the fact that pretty much Michigan's defense went out and said, hey, we're going to run 2 high safeties, and we're just going to test us.
Yes.
Can you beat our safeties? And guess what? They couldn't.
No.
I mean, it was one of those situations where, like, there would be guys with space, and Penix could not hit the throw.
So it was just because I'm like, the pressure, I don't know if the internal clock in his head just completely started messing with him.
Yeah.
Because he was forcing throws that weren't there.
Yep.
When you would see in the replay, like he would force one throw and there would be like a Dunze or Polk or McMillan would be wide open. Just if he like stood there and turned and looked at his second read, I mean, we have a touchdown. I mean, and to be fair on his part, I mean, receivers drops, missed throws.
Bad. Yeah, there was some bad drops in there too.
There were some bad drops. It's like, what are we doing? There was a big one when the game was still a 7-point game. It was a 3rd down and like 5-ish from it was like the Michigan like something. It was just a little halfback dump to the halfback. Guy turns to look ahead of the field and drops it. I mean, he would have had the first stuff like that. I mean, too many of those. They weren't getting breaks off by the refs some because there were some holds that were called.
Now, welcome to the ACC.
The ACC officiating strikes again. They did it against.
Yep.
They did it in the Florida State game. They did it in the Georgia Tech game. They've done it in this game. They've done it in numerous other games.
Look, we've been saying it for years. Everybody thinks we're crazy, but I'm like, guys, ACC refs are the worst thing on the planet.
Bad.
They don't know anything.
Michigan was getting away with just some blatant holds, and then the biggest play, in my opinion, in the game in that second half, a big what if, a 7-point game. Washington finally gets a deep shot down the field. It's like a 32-yard gain to a Dunze, and they get called for a holding. And it's a little. I mean, I thought it was a hold.
Yeah.
Some people could argue it wasn't. But the biggest thing was though that there was a clear hold that should have been called a hold or a pass interference. Should have been called on. I believe it. Will Johnson might have been covering him on a Dunze on that throw.
Yeah.
That didn't get called, and it's like, what? How are we missing that? I mean, that should have been offsetting or something like that. There were a couple.
Yeah.
And then a couple late in the fourth on that big throw, which set it up to score, make it 27-13. That big throw to, I think it was Loveland. A clear hold. Hold. I believe it was on Trice. You can't miss that kind of stuff if you're an officiating crew and a national championship officiating crew.
Yep. So I would guess the ACC refs aren't coming back, but no. Maybe the Pac-12 refs will be hired as full-time postseason refs.
Yeah.
They'll have no biases.
I will say, and it caught my eye as soon as I saw it. I mean, the line of scrimmage, as I started this whole thing, was going to be the de facto, aside from keeping Penix upright. I mean, if Michigan wanted to, then my biggest concern was going into this game also, tied in with that line of scrimmage. Michigan's run game, I mean, they love to run the football. That is what they are. They are a ground and pound, punch you in the mouth team that bullies you. Washington gives about almost 5 yards a carry going into the game. Michigan averaged, checks notes, 8 yards a carry on the ground.
Yep.
They had 174 yards rushing after one quarter.
Yep.
After the first quarter.
Yeah. So, and I mean, I'll speak for myself. Monday national championship was my 21st birthday, by the way. So thank you. So I was out eating dinner, having a nice drink for my first legal drink.
Attaboy. Attaboy.
And I'm watching the game on the TV, and it just looks like they can't be stopped. No. When I'm watching Michigan on offense, when they decided, hey, we're gonna run the ball, Washington couldn't do anything at all. They couldn't get pressure on JJ McCarthy. They couldn't do anything.
They got home, I think, like twice.
Yeah, and JJ McCarthy looked terrible too. So
10 of 18, barely over 100 yards. I mean, that's what annoys me some. And there's a question we'll talk about later. It's just the fact that everyone thinks that JJ McCarthy is this second coming of God. He's an average quarterback that happens to just live off a really good run game and a really good O-line that can make throws when needed. And that's fine. But to put him in a level where, the Caleb Williamses, the Drake Mays, the Bo Nixes, the Michael Penixes, the Quinn Ewers, the Carson Becks, he's not. He's not there.
Yeah.
He is an average quarterback. He threw for 140 yards in a game where they ran the ball for 303 yards.
Yeah.
I understand, he just wasn't needed, and that's fine. But don't make him as if he's the next Peyton Manning to come out.
Or he's not even compare Michigan guys. People saying he's one of the best Michigan quarterbacks. It's like Tom Brady.
Harbaugh's saying he's the next best quarter. He's the best quarterback of all time.
It's
he's the greatest quarterback at Michigan history.
It's like, sorry, Jim, I got to be honest with you. You were better than he was, if we're being honest with ourselves.
And he may come back next year. We'll see. He hasn't announced anything yet, but
no, he's got according to the NFL draft experts, he's the 5th best quarterback in the class.
Get that? Just get it out of here.
He is undraftable, in my opinion.
It'll be interesting if he ends up going this year where he lines up. But just pat some quick little great stats here for you, as some people call it, Josh Pate would call it padlock stat.
Yeah.
The run game, the line of scrimmage, as I've been saying all night. 46 yards for Washington running the ball, 303 for Michigan. Washington averaged almost under 2.5 yards a carry. Like I said, Michigan 8 yards carry. At one point, it was 12.5 yards a carry they were averaging. Michael Penix really struggled down the stretch. I mean, the 2 picks were big. The penalties, 5 for 30. Number 73 for Washington, O-lineman. Get him off the field. Too many penalties by him. He had like 3 by himself in like one drive. So can't have that.
Yeah.
It was just complete utter domination. It felt like another classic game where a Pac-12 team goes up against a mighty big-time team from the Big Ten or the SEC and gets mollywopped.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We saw this with Oregon, Ohio State a couple years ago in the national championship game. We saw this last year with Oregon and Georgia. You know, we've seen this USC and Alabama. Washington, Alabama, early 2016 playoff. We've seen this before.
Yeah.
And it's nothing against Washington. You know, they play how they're against their opponents they usually play.
Yeah.
But it just felt like, you know, as soon as, even when they cut it to 7 at going into half,
it didn't feel like that, though.
It didn't feel like that. And then as soon as they threw the pick on the first play, it was like, geez, here we go. I will give credit Washington's defense here.
Yeah.
They did a good job after a treacherously horrible start. They settled in nicely.
Yeah.
And they gave Washington a chance. It's just Washington's offense could not do anything. You know what I mean?
No, I think that's a great way to put it. I mean, I'll speak for myself. Second half of the game, it was like, especially after it was like, 8 minutes left in the third quarter. At that point, I was like, oh, they're not coming back. And not only they're not coming back, I was like, I'm more interested to see if we get this college football commercial, this game commercial.
Yeah, we'll get to EA later
We'll get
on.
to it later, but like there was a point in that game where I was like, it's not even.
Yeah,
It wasn't like a blowout on like the scoreboard, but
it felt like it.
It felt like it, and it looked like it when you're watching it. The scoreboard didn't reflect it, but like you'd watch it and you'd be like, oh, these two teams aren't similar.
It stinks because there are teams out there that would have given Michigan a hell of a lot better of a fight, if not beat them. Listen, credit to Michigan. They played the cards that they were given. They played them well. And they did all they needed to do. I mean,
like they made 2 guys who strange people out there thought were Heisman contenders, but Heisman contenders no less. They made them look, okay,
average, very average, sub-average. I mean,
Michael Penix absolutely Heisman contender. That's not. I was talking about Jalen Milroe, to be honest. I don't know why people thought he was Heisman contender. That's a separate story. But they made Milroe look bleh. They made Penix look below average.
What's crazy is they blitzed Milroe to death. In this game, they rushed 4 and still got home.
Yeah,
not even getting sacks, just pressure, and it showed. But a very ugly game, though. I mean, both teams combined for this one. You ready for this one?
Yeah,
3 of 24 combined on third downs between the two teams. Blech.
To be fair, though, there was points in that game where Michigan they didn't even get to third down. They would just first. It would be like first down and they'd get 8 yards. It was like, oh, whatever.
It was just a very sloppy game, and that felt like I said this after our recap for the playoff games. A very sloppy playoff national title between every team involved. Like there were times where it's like either it's just bad football being played, and I love good defensive battle. I love good offensive shootout, but you can tell when there's that, and then there's a game where teams are shooting themselves in the foot with penalties, with drops, with mistakes, and then there's just sloppy bad football being played. Yeah, that's what this game kind of felt like for a lot of it, and.
I mean, it kind of just felt like there was one team who, for one quarter, fell asleep at the wheel and then realized, like, what are we doing? And took advantage. Yeah. That's how it felt to me. It really did feel like Washington took advantage of Michigan just slowing down and deciding, hey, why don't we just throw the ball for a little bit? And they made the game look close for a minute, but then reality set back in.
For sure. And we'll give our props to Michigan.
Yep.
I think they only have like 2 5-stars like on their team. Like they're a team that this team that is built was through an outside the top 10 recruiting class. Like this is not a crazy heavily recruited ranking class.
Nope.
That it's just a veteran-led, player-led group that just decided to say, listen, we're not going to let what happened back in 21 happen again.
Yeah.
We're not going to let what happened last year happen again. We're going to finish what we started, and we're going to beat Ohio State again. We're going to take care of that. All the ups and downs. Now the NCAA still has to go through an investigation there, but they overcame the investigation. Their coach got suspended twice. They beat Ohio State. They finally get over that playoff game hump, and they beat Alabama. And then they go and finish it off against Washington. And, listen, you play the cards you're dealt and you play them right. There you go. You're going to win a lot of games like that.
National championship.
So, credit to guys like, Blake Corum and Roman Wilson, J.J. McCarthy, and Donovan Edwards, and guys on that outside like Mike Sanderstill and Will Johnson and Chris Jenkins. And a lot of these guys like that stayed around, said, we want to finish this. We're going to get it done here.
Yeah.
Credit to them. Any final thoughts here before we move on?
No, I think you hit everything right on the nail there. The only other thing I have to say is, congrats to Jim Harbaugh finally getting over that hump, winning that national championship, and Michigan winning their first national championship since '97 and the first outright since the Korean War.
Hell yeah. Anyway, we're moving on. Transfer portal news. Just a quick update with everything, because all this craziness that's happening, we have player news. It's only going to get crazier with now Saban being gone.
Yep.
So just to update, we got Will Howard to Ohio State. We got Quinshon Junkins. This was the big one. I'll come back to you. I'm going to circle back to him here in a second. Yeah. He goes from Ole Miss to Ohio State. One of the crazier transfer portal people in this cycle, to me.
Yeah.
Jaden Mabia. How do you say it? Complete botch.
I know you're talking about. Yep.
Freshman Mountain West Player of the Year.
Yep.
Quarterback out of UNLV. So the night of the national championship game, he commits to Georgia.
Yep.
USC and Georgia had been going after him. And then today, decommits and commits to USC. The funny thing is, classes started yesterday for Georgia.
Yeah.
Apparently, he commits to USC, but he's still talking to Georgia people. He's still in touch with them. So I don't know where that's going, but right now he's supposed to be at USC. So there's that. Julian Fleming, Ohio State wide receiver, who we were wondering. A lot of people Chris balled him to Penn State. That's where he ended up. So he's not going to be a crazy difference maker as far as like that Penn State offense transcending them in anything, but I think he brings in a good championship level, a good mindset. Like, I know how it's done. A team that owns you guys. This is how it's done. So maybe he brings in a good role model leadership role there.
Yep.
Quarterback out of Albany, Reese Poffenberger.
Saw that name.
Miami has got a quarterback. As we all know, because Van Dyke's heading the portal. I think he ended up somewhere else, actually. I just don't remember. Emory. Oh, yes.
Yep.
Emory Williams is, I'm not sure what's happening with him. I know he's still coming over that injury. So
he has not entered the portal, though. I doubt
he is. I know he's still injured. So
yeah.
But Poffenberger at Albany, 6,613 passing yards. He is responsible of 68 touchdowns in just 2 seasons. So he's got some stuff. We've seen guys come out of Albany, transfer to other places like Jared Verse. It's the big one that these guys can play. So we'll see how he does down in Miami. Malachi Nelson, who was the number 1 overall prospect last year, who was at USC, who was probably in line to start next year at USC, decides to decommit.
Well,
he was supposed to be in a competition. He was the second stringer.
He was the second stringer, but he fell. They're saying that he did not pan
There's
out
something
well
that
there.
Lincoln Riley just didn't. I guess there was a lot of, like Lincoln Riley just probably thought like he's just not the guy, something like that. And you see what Moore does after comes in and plays the way he did, or Mason Miller play after. Crazy stuff. So Malachi Nelson goes from USC to Boise State. Earl Little Jr. and Malik Benson headed out from Alabama to Florida State. And Florida State also gets LSU wide receiver Jaylen Brown.
Florida State putting together a pretty good transfer class.
Yes.
Not a lot of guys, but a lot of like solid pickups. I mean, the biggest thing that stood out to me with the Malik Benson kid was that last year he was the #1 JUCO player in the country, transferred to Alabama to play wide receiver. And, we know how this year went with Alabama when it came to wide receivers, is none of the guys really got
that
enough space to shine.
spot.
Yeah, nobody was given the amount of targets necessary really to shine, especially with the way that offense at Alabama kind of was. It was weird. It was like they ran a lot of QB.
Yeah. Well, he played to Milroe's strengths. I think that's
exactly.
What it ends up being.
And so a lot of those wide receivers, I would assume, just didn't mesh with that style. So there's a couple guys. Pretty sure there was another wide receiver from Alabama who entered the portal, and might see another one in the next day or two.
Yeah. So LSU, this is a non-transfer portal news, but LSU picks up 5-star quarterback Bryce Underwood. He's the #1 overall prospect according to in the On3 industry pro prospect rankings. So LSU gets another big-time quarterback recruit. They have obviously they just won the Heisman. Jaden Daniels, Joe Burrow won it a couple years ago. They have Nussmeier coming in. He'll play the starter going into this year, so we'll see. Obviously, it's far from over. Verbal commits mean nothing these days, so we'll see if he actually signs when the time comes.
Honestly, at this point, signing doesn't even mean everything yet.
Because you have the transfer.
You gotta see the guy on campus taking classes.
He needs to watch him move in personally and watch him go to first day of classes.
I mean, you saw. I don't know if you saw it, but Marvin Jones Jr., the transfer from Georgia to Florida State. People were freaking out that he was transferred. It's like he's in class. What are we doing right now?
Yeah,
he's on campus in class. His dad's tweeting like, guys, he physically can't, he's in class. Like,
what's funny was that during the Orange Bowl, he was on like the Georgia sideline for some reason still, which was the funny part.
We were talking about that. They're like, oh my god, is he going back to Georgia? It's like he already transferred. Like, this is one of those situations. Like DJ Lundy was another guy.
Yeah, he's coming back.
He committed to Colorado on Christmas Day. Not just that, but he committed, and then Colorado put out like the promo for him signing, but he never enrolled. And he just decided to go back to Florida State.
Hey, listen. You play the MLS and you do that perfectly fine.
They probably. That's one of the reasons why I really do think Alabama isn't going for Norvell, is I would assume Norvell wouldn't go up to DJ Lundy and be like, come back, I'm leaving.
Maybe he's like, listen, I got a guy who's going to fill in here. Great guy. He's going to teach you guys well.
It's Urban Meyer.
That's right. You're bringing Jimbo back home. Anyway, so one guy to watch is Talia Tagovailoa.
Yes.
This is funny. This one's kind of funny. So Maryland quarterback, all-time Big Ten passing record.
Yep.
I believe that stat is correct.
Yes, it is.
He comes in, or he enters the portal. He is a senior. He is a fifth-year guy. He enters the portal. Problem is, he doesn't actually have any years of like remaining eligibility.
Yeah.
So he is asking the NCAA to grant him a 6th year of eligibility. And if it's granted, a team to watch for that is Miami.
Yeah.
Miami needs a quarterback. They did just get Reese Poffenberger from Albany, but you can bring in another veteran guy, and also that his brother Tua's down there with the Dolphins, so it would work out well there.
I was gonna say that because I remember reading something about like that if Talia ends up going down to Miami, don't be surprised if the NCAA starts an investigation down there involving tampering.
Yeah, right.
Because it's legitimately like a real thing that could happen, just because they could be like somebody not involved with the Miami program was actively recruiting from an NFL. You know what I mean? Because there's like weird stuff about that.
Yeah, definitely something to look at. It'll be interesting to see if they actually grant him next year.
I think they will.
Which is, I mean, they might not because they just granted Alec Bowman a 7th year
Yeah,
for no reason at all.
And when I was reading why he wanted his extra year of eligibility, it was because he played 5 games his freshman year in Alabama, but he played 5 snaps. They were all knees. He took a knee every snap.
I mean, why not? Well, then you should have just not gone out there and had that extra year then.
Well, he wasn't supposed to, but it was the game where Tua got hurt.
Oh yeah,
that it wasn't. That's what he's trying to argue with them, is that he didn't. He played 5 games, but one of the games he was only out there to honor his brother who had been injured.
Gotcha.
But we'll see if he actually gets it. I think he will, because he played 5
these 5th, 6th, and 7th year guys are really, I think, hurting some of these younger guys, and that's why I think I think that's also why the portal is what it is right now, is because I mean you keep granting these guys all these years of eligibility. Like why would you stay?
Yeah,
if you're still gonna sit back there and rot away. I mean, you probably have some of these guys that it's their 3rd year and they're still probably not going to start.
Yep.
I mean, if you're a quarterback at Oklahoma State, why would I want to stay around if I'm a freshman or a sophomore?
Mm-hmm.
When I got a guy that's going to be his 7th year?
Yeah.
What are we doing? Like that's when I would get a little frustrated, and that's why some of these boundaries. It's like once I think eventually all these COVID guys are out, I think we're going to start to see a little normalcy again. Mm-hmm. But until we just keep granting guys eligibility, why not? So
yeah.
All right.
No,
we're going to move on.
Absolutely agree with you there, Hunter.
Perfect. Glad you agree with me. Anyway, we're going to bust our round through these hot questions here because we're getting a little close on time here. So question 1 is, should Jim Harbaugh go to the NFL or stay in college?
I think he should stay in college.
I agree. I think for the betterment of the sport.
Mm-hmm. I think the sport is better when Michigan is good.
Keep an eye on, though, if he leaves, guy like Caleb DeBoer, Mike Vrabel, just got fired from the Tennessee Titans today. I mean, look for guys like that. Possibly,
Mike Vrabel would not go to Michigan. I'm gonna stop you right there.
I think Vrabel will stay in the NFL. True.
He will end up at Ohio State in 2 years.
I think he will end up at the Chargers actually this year, but that's for me.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
Anyway,
that makes sense, though.
I do think, I think college is where he's going to be at. I think if he's smart, he'll stay.
And I think he is, personally.
Yeah.
I think he's corny. I think he's really corny, but I really do think he's a smart guy. He's a guy who knows not what's at stake, but like when it comes to building your legacy.
Yeah.
As a coach, you know what I mean? We all know you can coach well in the NFL. We all know.
But can you back up success now as the defending champions?
Exactly. Can you build something more than a one-year wonder at Michigan? And
I think that if he stays, JJ McCarthy will probably stay. You'll still have Donovan Edwards.
Yep.
So you'll still have some of your key guys, but I think it starts at the top. And if he stays, I think everybody else will kind of follow.
Yep.
I think he's buzzing in now. There we go. Anyway, all right, next question. Where does JJ McCarthy rank among this year's quarterbacks? I think we started getting into this a little bit ago.
He is not in the top 5 or 10, dude. Let me just start right there. He is like 12 to 15. He is a average starter on a great team.
Yes.
He has great weapons. He has a fantastic defense. So he is constantly put in great positions.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about him. I don't think he is not. I mean, you just said it earlier. He's not Michael Penix. He's not Carson Beck. He's not Jordan Trout. He's none of those guys at the top. Quite frankly, he is more similar to Kyle McCord than anybody else.
Yes.
That's how I feel about him. And anybody who's saying he's a legitimate NFL starter, to me, is absolutely bonkers. Like, they got to reevaluate how they look at quarterbacks, to me.
I mean, there's guys
not start in the NFL.
I mean, guys like I would put Dylan Gabriel ahead of him. Noah, he's in, like, I think he's in, like, the McCord. He's in the, like, Jaden Daniel. Jaden Daniel's way better now.
Yeah. Jaden Daniels is much better. I think he's
Dylan Gabriel. I think he's in the Dylan Gabriel, the Dante Moores, the Cam Risings, the Shador Sanders. I think they're all. He's in.
I think they're all better than him, though.
I just think
I would pick most
I'm
of those
not
guys
trying to
over him.
knack JJ McCarthy.
Me neither.
27-1 as a starter.
He's
He
a
knows
good
how to
quarterback,
win.
but
He
he
makes
is
throws
not.
when he needs to. He knows how to win
Yeah.
when asked upon.
Mm-hmm.
But
I
if
don't
we're
think he's
looking,
one of those guys.
it just drives me crazy when we start comparing him to guys that statistically are better, just have better athletic attributes, will probably succeed in the league.
Yeah.
It just drives me crazy when we're comparing guys that not once this year was JJ McCarthy, except for maybe one time this year, the Alabama game, the fourth quarter, when he had to make a couple throws.
Yeah.
Other than that, I have not seen a guy. I haven't seen him make a time. There hasn't been any time where you're down 10 with 9 minutes to go in the fourth. Got to have a drive. Got to get points here.
You're not picking JJ McCarthy to lead that drive.
Not once have I seen that. And again, that's based off the fact that they never have been put in that spot.
Yeah.
Because the defense just dominates so well and that they run the ball like crazy, which is perfectly fine. But just we can't be comparing him to guys like Ewers, Beck, Penix, Daniels, Williams, Shedeur Sanders, Drake May.
Yeah.
Just stop.
It's silly. It's just silly.
It's very silly.
Doing?
Exactly. All right. Next question. Where does this Michigan team rank among the other 15-0 teams? I am not including Alabama's 2020 team even though they were one of the great teams this century. That was a 13-0 team in a COVID year. I'm talking about LSU 2019, Clemson in 2018.
Yes.
Georgia 2022, and now Michigan 2023.
They're probably dead last, dude.
I would rank.
I don't want to be bad to them, but to me, they have the worst quarterback of those teams.
I'll put him third. I got to look back at Clemson's. I don't think Clemson played a very strong record.
They blew out Alabama 44-16.
Well, I mean, Washington blew out Washington, or Michigan blew out Washington, was undefeated. I just saying from the schedule. I got to see who Clemson played because I don't think it was a very strong schedule.
I don't think it was a crazy schedule, but the way they just won that year, mind you, halfway through that season, they just switched quarterbacks.
Yes. I would rank LSU, Georgia's, Michigan's, Clemson's. Yeah. That's just me.
I'm looking back at they didn't play the craziest schedule, but they had some crazy games.
But
they beat the ACC championship. They won 62-17. They beat Wake Forest, who won 8 games that year, 52-3.
Yeah. Well, I just think that from from the outside distractions of the off the field issues to what this team did and how they did it is a credit to them. If you're stacking them up against that Georgia team from last year, even from the year before, that the Alabama team that I'm not including, the LSU team would destroy. I think they maybe not destroy. They would beat them.
They beat Louisville 77-16.
Listen, like I'm saying, I just think that I don't think Clemson's record was, or I don't think they played the most dominant schedule. And Michigan did beat 2 top 10 teams. They did beat an Alabama team who beat Georgia, and then they beat Washington, who was undefeated, 14-0. So
no, I understand. I just my when I'm thinking about this, that team, because I remember watching that Clemson team very, very much that year. Outside of one game, they dominated every single team they played.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Their closest game was against a Texas A&M team that finished in the top 10.
I mean, even their playoff game against the Ohio State game, the playoff game that's
a different season.
That was it. Was that the?
They beat that was in 2019 when they lost to LSU.
That's right. 2018 they beat
Notre Dame 30-3, and then
that's right, because that was the year Georgia got in. Yeah.
Yep. And then they beat Alabama 44-16.
That's right. Yeah.
Now that team
I still won't get over the fact that they left the Georgia team out, who had lost to their only losses were to Was it LSU and
I think it was LSU and
LSU
Alabama?
and Alabama in the final.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
Bama game, they blew a 14-point lead against. So, in the fact they put in a Notre Dame team with a cupcake of a schedule just because they were undefeated, a non-Power 5 team because they're independent.
I don't think Notre Dame was not undefeated that year, if I'm right.
No, they were, because that's the only reason why
Notre Dame was the 4. No, they were. Yeah, they were undefeated. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the only reason why they got it, and it just drove me berserk.
Yeah, I still
and
think
I said they were going to get blown out, and they did.
Yeah,
T. Higgins and freaking Trevor Lawrence said, "Watch this."
I mean, I know you don't. I mean, you just straight up say you think that that Clemson team was special that year.
For sure.
I do. I would pick them if I was like Vegas right now. I would. If I was, I would think Vegas would probably put Clemson as 4-point favorites over this year's Michigan's team. That Clemson team,
yeah,
just because they'd have the quarterback advantage, they have the wide receiver advantage. I'm pretty sure that year they had who's their running back that season?
Trevor Etienne.
Was it Trevor? I mean, dude, that was a crazy team.
Oh yeah, and it showed up. So, all right, next question: how should Washington fans view this season?
Success.
I will say successful for what you had coming back. You won the Alamo Bowl last year. You had a good season. Now you come back with everything.
Yep.
The games that they won wasn't always the prettiest, but they got it done.
Mm-hmm.
And that, you beat Oregon twice. You win the Pac-12 title. You win the Sugar Bowl. And you just ran into a better team. That's all it really came down to. Came down to the line of scrimmage. And I would view this as a success for Washington.
No, I agree with you. I think, to me, I'm sitting here and I go, how could you not view it as a success? You had an undefeated regular season. You got to the playoff. You won a playoff game. You had a quarterback finish number 2 in the Heisman race. You had awards all across the board at every single position, guys nominated for something. This is one of those special years, and they just came up short.
Yeah.
Which sucks. You know what I mean? It feels like, a lot of people feel, certain ways about certain teams that, that team was special and they just didn't get it done that year. But I mean, this is a team that Washington fans should talk about for
a long time.
Right. Yeah, because no offense, I just don't think they're going to get another team like this for a minute.
No.
This team had a lot going for it.
I don't think that they're going to take a nosedive like TCU did this year.
No. I don't think
they should be. It's because a lot of people have been comparing them to TCU, where they were getting by, and then they got mollywopped in the championship game. But TCU really fell off this year. 5-7, I think they went in. So I don't. You're not going to see that from Washington. They're too good. They're going to have guys come. They're going to have enough guys to, I think, win.
Yeah.
Mark a calendar. So Michigan-Washington rematch next year in Husky Stadium. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
I mean, because Will Rogers is going to be there. Will Rogers, Washington quarterback. He was at the game and warming up. So, all right, our final hot question here is, should EA be punished? This is a funny one, for lying to us blatantly, forming an alliance with ESPN just to get viewers in, because you knew ahead of time that this wasn't going to be a highly watched game, more than likely.
Yeah.
Just to fool all of us, passionate NCAA football players.
Evil,
disgusting, vile, gross.
Yeah.
How many words do you want to go? Because this was unacceptable.
I mean, it was evil.
I had to sit through and watch a pathetic play of a second half because I thought I was going to get a release date commercial. And I
didn't
never
care about a release date. I just care about physically seeing something, right? Give us a cover athlete. Give us a fire, like a 15-second clip of gameplay, just of cut up shots from the game.
Give me something.
You could have just said it releases July. I would have been like, oh my God, we're winning.
Coming soon. Even I would have cared. Give me something. Just even if it just says college football, just the madness has just started or something like that, and coming soon.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. That would have been awesome. Or even if it just said July of 2024.
Yeah.
Madness comes soon. July of 2024.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in. Perfect. That's all I needed.
Yep.
You didn't give it to me. You lied, and I had to sit through as if I wasn't already, but you made me sit through and watch that. Gross. So, can't have it. Can't have it. All right, we'll move on as we come to a close here. We're going to do Bowl Mania update. Pen here somewhere. Here we go. All right, so where we left off, Dylan was in the lead by a measly 2 points.
Mm-hmm.
I think we left off with the Miami game, the Pinstripe, or Pop-Tart Bowl? We got through the Pop-Tart.
Yeah.
And, we got to the Alamo Bowl. So we started the 29th. So,
yep.
You have your thing pulled up?
1 second. I'm trying to find it.
Okay. As soon as you pull that up, we'll get rolling. Ugh. A lot.
Okay. I got it pulled up.
Bowl game. All right, here we go.
Yep.
So the Gator Bowl was the first bowl on here. Clemson won. I had Clemson.
I had Clemson.
Okay, so there's points right there for Dylan and for Hunter. The Sun Bowl, Notre Dame just put it on the Oregon State Beavers. Ooh, I had Notre Dame as well.
Yep.
Another win for both. Iowa State slipping to Memphis. To be fair, Memphis played at home. So, I mean, that's not – how was I supposed to –
Yeah,
I knew ahead of time, but how was I supposed to know that Iowa State wasn't going to show up?
I picked Iowa State.
Same. I had Missouri in the Cotton Bowl.
So did I.
Liar. I know you have Ohio State.
Nope, don't have Ohio State.
Don't lie to me, Dylan.
Nope, I'm not lying. I'd have the next one wrong, though.
How about Missouri? All right. Next game is the Peach Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Ole Miss, I had
Penn State.
Ha-ha! Yes, finally. Hunter cuts the lead to 1. Here we go. The Music Bowl, I had Maryland.
I had Maryland, too.
Dang it. What's funny is some of these picks I had differently than another Bowl Mania pick I was in. Like I had Auburn in that other one, but I had Maryland here. The Orange Bowl. I know you picked Florida State. Yeah, I know that. Georgia. We don't even talk about that one. Woo! Anyway. Arizona Bowl. I had Toledo.
Is that Toledo versus Wyoming?
Yeah.
I had Wyoming.
You're such an asshole. I know you didn't, but
yeah, I did. Got it down right here, right under Florida State.
I need proof. Show us or it's not real. Anyway. The ReliaQuest Bowl. I had LSU beating Wisconsin.
So did I.
LSU, nice comeback win there.
Mm-hmm.
How generous of them. They shut out Wisconsin the 4th. They come back and win, and then they fire their DC the next day.
Let's go.
Just so generous of them.
Mm-hmm.
All right. The Citrus Bowl, Tennessee and Iowa. You had Iowa. Don't even.
I had Iowa.
That was pathetic, and I told you it was.
Yeah. I thought they'd be able to stop. Because
nope.
I forgot their quarterback.
I went in thinking Joe Milton was going to play, too.
Yeah.
He's at the draft right now, so don't even.
We'll see if he's there, but,
Right now, you got to start a franchise. Joe Milton, J.J. McCarthy, go.
Oh, dude.
Can't think about it. Got to just say a name.
Joe Milton.
Okay. Anyway.
Because I feel like if you have the right coach, maybe you could get something out of that.
I would maybe lean J.J. McCarthy because he's a more accurate thrower of the ball.
To me, getting J.J. McCarthy is the same as getting like a backup. Like you could do better.
Yeah. All right. Fiesta Bowl. I'm assuming both had Oregon.
Yeah, we both had Oregon.
Yes.
Let's tally it up. I think you may have passed me there at the end.
I don't know. I think you're still up by 1 unless I just mistallied. Michigan Rose Bowl.
I had Michigan.
I had Bama. I think you're up 1 right now. Yeah, I think I mistallied. All right, so you're up 1 still. And then Texas, Washington. I had
Texas.
So, and then we didn't have a title game winner. Actually,
I think we both picked Michigan though.
Yeah,
we talked about the game.
We won't count that one because I
didn't have it tallied on.
So I think Dylan squeaks this year's edition out by 1.
Oh man, you know what that feels like? Winning.
Wait. Yeah. Dang nabbit. 1 by 1. Yeah. Stupid. I'm gonna blame. Who should I blame here?
I can tell you exactly who you need to blame. You need to blame Toledo.
No, well, I'm not gonna blame Toledo because Wyoming won, and I didn't know a head coach was retiring after this year. We're gonna blame.
Maybe SMU.
No, I'm gonna blame. Choo choo cha cha cha. I mean Alabama. Blame.
Yeah, but I mean,
I'm gonna blame Iowa State because I didn't know you were just gonna show up and poop your pants like that. So
I also had Iowa State.
Actually, I'm gonna blame Louisville too. Louisville, what are we doing? Why?
Why
do we choke like that?
I think Louisville too.
All right, we're gonna finish up here with winners and losers of the week. We'll quickly give off a winner and a loser.
Yeah.
Or two winners and two losers.
Mm-hmm.
My first winner is Michigan. Obviously, more specifically, I'm going to go Blake Corum, finishing off a remarkable career at Michigan.
Yeah.
He had a great game, had over 100 yards rushing, had a couple touchdowns, and came back this year when he could have gone pro last year, comes back because he wants to win a title, and he does. He finishes off with the ring, so credit to him. And my second winner is anybody that despised Nick Saban or was glad that he retired, because congratulations, the boogeyman's gone. For LSU, Georgia fans, Auburn fans specifically, the boogeyman's gone. The bad guy's gone. Tennessee.
Yeah.
There you go. So I guess congratulations to you. And congrats to whoever's going to take that job. Future winner of the week.
Yeah, future. Or loser, depending on who they pick.
Well, not loser yet. That'd be later on.
Well, I mean, if they come out and they're like, we hired someone dumb.
Right.
You never know. My winner of the week is obviously the Michigan Wolverines, specifically Jim Harbaugh, getting that national championship, proving to everybody in the country who's ever doubted him that he could be a guy who could take Michigan all the way. Prove them wrong pretty well. My other winner of the week, one less talked about, but I still think it's important. Larry Fitzgerald and Randy Moss both getting into the College Football Hall of Fame. Amazing news.
Yes, for sure.
Two fantastic guys, two future College Football Hall of Famers, and Larry Fitzgerald will be an NFL Hall of Famer one day. Great news for both of those guys.
My losers of the week are EA for what you did. Can't have it. Won't have it. Won't stand for that. Need better out of you. I just need a game by the summer. I don't care if Dylan's on the cover. Just get me.
Oh, me, yeah, I'd be a great cover athlete.
Pose real quick. Here we go. Gonna get that pose. And my second loser is Georgia, because Georgia had a realistic shot of going to a three-peat this year.
Yep.
And they stumbled to a team they were much better than against Alabama. They self-inflicted wounds. I've said all year, the only team that can beat Georgia is themselves, and it was the self-inflicted wounds / bad piss poor officiating, which killed them in that game. And they only lost by 3, and the 3 ended up being the difference maker because of a self-inflicted wound on a field goal, false start field goal, backed them up, missed a field goal. Yeah. Nonetheless, if they win that game, I think you get a better national title game. I think Georgia wins. I mean, they were favored. I forget which sportsbook came out and gave us lines. Georgia was a 3-point favorite, I think, against Michigan. So you saw, I mean, I think they would end up beating them, but I think you would have got a much better game. But listen, all the people complaining, that was a playoff game and you lost. So I'm not going to moan and cry about it from a fan's perspective, but you had your shot, you didn't get it. You look forward to next year. That's my loser of the week, though.
My losers of the week are, Washington's offense.
Offensive line, more specifically, probably.
Yeah, I would say their offensive line, into the wide receivers too.
Adonze had a good game.
Yeah, but
McMillan and Polk didn't really have a good game.
Both had some kind of killer drops. And then I mean, it's we talked them to death already, but I think the biggest loser of the week is whoever has to follow up Nick Saban's legacy at Alabama.
Yeah.
I mean, no matter what you do, to me, you're going to end up being a disappointment.
Possibly.
I mean, I don't know who's going to be able to come in and win 6 national championships.
Well, nobody's going to do that.
Exactly.
Smart might be the closest, and that's an if.
Yeah.
So,
but that's the standard that's been set.
Yeah.
So whatever comes after is disappointing.
Correct.
The next guy could come in, win 6 conference titles, 2 national champions. People will still say, Well, he's not Saban.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter what you do. So to me, whoever takes that job, it's like you're going to get that money, but at the same time, it's like you're forever going to be in the shadow of who came before you.
Correct.
Not just before you, but directly before you. With Saban, at least he had a couple coaches in between.
Yeah.
Him and Paul Bear Bryant and even Gene Stallings were fans could go, well, you know what? Better than if we got Rich Rodriguez.
For sure. It'll be
Those are
interesting.
my losers, yeah.
Just because, but they should know going in, like, they're not gonna, live up to that kind of stature more than likely. So
Yeah.
just the expectation, son. Still expect to compete at the national level, but
we're talking about Alabama fans.
For sure. Yes, I know. It's like talking to a wall when you're trying to ask some people to do stuff.
No offense to any Alabama fans watching this, but you guys got people in your fan base who, man, you guys are crazy.
Well, I feel like every fan base should have this.
No, but I mean, you talk to some Alabama fans, and it's like, wow.
They're just talking out of their butt.
You've seen that guy. You've seen that video of that guy at the SEC championship who was screaming, "Don't care about nothing but the tie."
Hey, I think that's Willie.
Don't give a piss about nothing but the tie.
Oh yeah, listen, those are the finest Alabama folks.
Oh yeah,
for sure. All right, we'll be wrapping things up with that.
Mm-hmm.
Good episode tonight.
Yeah,
got it in our usual time, so good on our part. Make sure you guys are subscribing to the podcast, watching on YouTube, liking the videos. The views have been there. Make sure the subscriptions, we're trying to get those up. So if you are watching and are not subscribed, hit that subscribe button below. It really helps us out. We would really appreciate if you did so. Also listen on Spotify if you're doing so, but following as well. For College Football Talk, This is Hunter.
This is Dylan.
Signing off for this time. We'll see you guys next week. Till then, have a good one.
See you guys.